Adwaita Pancharatnam. This is the third book in the English series we are discussing about Vedanta. This is by Sri D.B.GangoLLi, an introduction to the spiritual science of Advaita Vedanta in 5 verses. Advaita Pancharatnam. Published by Hind, NavOtthan, PratishthAn, VyAsagiri, Kerala in 1993. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Dr. Krishnamurti Shastri, Dambe, Punacha, Karnataka. Publisher's note: this short treatise, Advaita Pancharatnam, is on the basic essentials of Vedanta, the science of monism. Sri Shankara, the great exponent of the Upanishadic path of self-realization, is the author of the five terse verses in this very short book. The role of Adi Shankara is presenting to all aspirants of moksha. The role of Adi Shankara in presenting to all aspirants of moksha, liberation from the trammels of worldly existence, the science of the Atman in all its glory and pristine purity is unrivaled. But most of his followers who have taken it upon themselves to present Shankara's teachings to the aspiring public have strayed away from the essentials of his teachings and the methodology adopted by him. Swami Srimad Sachidananda Saraswati of Holy Narsipur, Karnataka, is one of the very few recognized authorities on Shankara who has been a true exponent of Shankara's works. It is he alone who has been able to give true seekers a correct insight through his books into Shankara's teachings. The author of this interpretation of Advaita Pancharatnam, Sri D.B.GangoLLi of Bangalore, has been responsible for publishing many books in English based on the Kannada publications of Swami Sachidananda Saraswati, books in which he has been able to bring the soul of Shankara's teachings alive again. Sri D.B.GangoLLi needs no introduction to the true followers of Adi Shankara. This we can boldly say is one more edition by him, a very valuable addition to the other books of which he is the author. To beginners in the path of Vedanta and self-realization, this book will be of immense use. We have great pleasure in presenting this small upahara to all the lovers of Vedanta, especially those who are beginners in the path. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Swami Purushottama Tirtha, General Secretary, Hindu NavOtthan Pratisthana, Vyasa Tapovanam, VyAsagiri, Trichur District, Kerala. So, let us see this Advaita Pancharatnam as explained by D.B. As explained by Sri Sachidananda Saraswati Swamiji, compiled by D.B.GangoLLi in his way of thinking. That is in the thinking way of Sri Sachidananda Saraswati Swamiji, as per the Shankara's view, Adi Shankara's. So, Advaita Pancharatnam, an introduction to the spiritual science of Advaita Vedanta in 5 verses. Preface. As the title of the book suggests, there are 5 verses believed to have been composed by Adi Shankaracharya, in which the great world teacher introduces all genuinely interested students to the rudimentaries of the spiritual science of Vedanta. Just like any empirical science, this Vedantic science is also a very highly developed science, desiderating a great deal of steadfast dedication and burning enthusiasm on the part of the seekers. All the 5 verses end with the words Shivoham, meaning I am Shiva, the ultimate reality. Each of these verses depicts one important aspect of this absolute ultimate reality called Shiva, which is synonymous with Ishvara, the Lord creator of the universe, as well as the human beings and other creatures. Sri Shankara has propounded in these pithy verses the basic theme of Advaita Vedanta, namely that Atman, the innermost self of all of us, is this non dual, eternally pure, perfect, conscious, and free Shiva alone. He reminds us that we are not samsaris or transmigratory souls tossed about from one birth to another, but our very essential nature at the core of our being is Shiva of Sachidananda Swarupa. Satchit Ananda Swarupa. In the first verse, the conglomeration of the body, the senses, the mind, etc., is taught to be anatman or not the real self. In the next three verses, with second, third, and fourth, delineating with the help of three illustrations of the rope snake, the dream, the reflection in a mirror, Sri Shankara brings home to our minds of the salient teaching of Vedanta that although in the ultimate analysis we are not really or absolutely transmigratory souls, samsara, due to bhranti or delusion, we are falsely appearing to be enjoying the transient pairs of opposites like sukha, happiness, and dukkha, misery, as also to be totally different from Parameshwara, the Lord Creator. In the last and fifth verse, it is expounded that our core of being in its essence per se is Chaitanya, which is perennially free, liberated, pure, and perfect, devoid of any blemishes or sins whatsoever. Consummate, all pervading, all consuming reality. It will become quite evident here that Shiva means not one of the members of the mythological trinity Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, but the ultimate non dual reality which is beyond the three states of waking, dream, and deep sleep, also called Paramatman, Parabrahman, who is the innermost self of all of us. This booklet will, it is hoped ardently by the publishers, engender an abiding interest in the unique methodology of teaching such a terse, subtle metaphysical science which concerns our life taken in its entirety. If it whets the appetite of the casual reader, he will surely take to studying the other texts meant for genuine seekers of moksha or liberation, beatitude. A detailed commentary is given in this objective alone. D.B.GangoLLi, VyAsagiri, January 10, 1993. Dedicated to Adi Shankara. So, after finishing the introductory part, that's preface, next Adwaita Pancharatnam introduction, deliberation on Atman and Anatman. So, that is Atma Anatma Viveka. It can also be called as Nitya Nitya Vastu Viveka or Satya Satya Viveka, Nitya Nitya Viveka, Atma Anatma Viveka. Although Vedanta is a Shastra or scientific text which, without mentioning the fruits that accrue to the devotees in the other worlds of celestial region, delineates the anubhava or intuitive experience that can be attained here and now in this very lifetime. The majority of the common run of people do not show any mental inclination towards this spiritual science. The reason for this is, for many people in general, texts which demand or desiderate a predominant sense of discrimination, ratiocination on the part of the reader or student do not attract their minds. Even among those whose minds have been induced to take up the study of these texts and to deliberate upon the topics and teachings propounded in them, many have not understood thoroughly as to which are those topics or phenomena that are of prime importance, and which are those subordinate topics helpful in discerning and developing the former. Because of the reason that those who do not possess any basic inclination or propensity for discrimination are not at all the qualified persons for Vedanta, their case is not relevant for us here in this context, because Sadasad Viveka or Atmanatma Viveka is the first requisite for entering into Vedanta, which is Sat, which is Asat, which is Satya, which is Mithya, which is Atma, which is Anatma, which is Nitya, which is Anitya. That is a very basic thing one should have. That vivechana, that is, that deliberation should have to enter into Vedanta. But it is quite evident that for the sake of those who are sincerely and dedicatedly aspiring to cognize the ultimate reality of Vedanta, so as to match it with his or her intuitive experience here and now, a primary treatise which selects judiciously the most important cardinal teachings of Advaita Vedanta and expounds them in a lucid manner becomes a necessity. With a view to meeting this dire need of those who are exposed to this as spiritual science for the first time in their present materialistic extroverted way of life, Sri Shankara Bhagavad composes these pithy 5 verses of Adwaita Pancharatnam to cover a whole theme of the spiritual science par excellence of Vedanta. This small treatise, in fact, unravels its teachings in the form of a compact commentary. The principal tenets of Vedanta are 3. 1. The absolute ultimate reality without anything else whatsoever as a second to it is Brahman alone. B. In it, both Jivatma or soulhood and Jagat or the physical universe of manifold diversity are misconceived. That is the second one. Third, the absolute reality of Brahman is in truth our Atman or innermost self beyond our I notion. All these 3 tenets have been explained here in this text by way of a commentary for the benefit of the genuine seekers. The knowledgeable seers or sages ever that if an initiate to this spiritual science wishes to know or cognize these tenets so as to realize them in his own intuitive experience, 4 human excellences have necessarily to be acquired by assiduous practice. These spiritual practices called sadhana chatushtaya, also referred to as sadhana sampat, are the following 4. 1. Nityanitya viveka. 2. The iha amutra phala bhoga viraga. 3rd. Shamadamadi shatka sampat. 4th is mumukshutva. Nitya Nitya Viveka, the capacity to cogitate and contrast what is eternal. So, Nitya Nitya Viveka means the capacity to cogitate and contrast what is eternal and what is non eternal is called by this phrase. The practitioner should deliberate upon the questions: what is the essential nature of anything or phenomenon which is anitya, meaning those objects which are within the purview of time? What is the essential nature of nitya vastu, meaning an entity which, if it exists at all, is beyond time? That is nitya nitya viveka. Iha amutra phalabhoga viragaha, the absence of any hankering after the enjoyment of such and such a pleasure in this world, iha, as also the enjoyment of such and such a happiness in paraloka or the other celestial worlds mentioned in the scriptures, amutra, and mythological texts, is called by this phrase: absence of any hankering after the enjoyment. Vairagya or viraga or virakti means detachment, renunciation. It is to be realized that one whose mind is engrossed incessantly thinking about the sensual objects outside and thereby is always extroverted will find his mind wavering and wandering out amidst the multiplicity of external objects, and hence it will not be available for him to concentrate and converge on the metaphysical transcendental reality, Paramartha of Vedanta. Hence, this viraga becomes quite essential for the discriminative seekers. Ihamutra phalabhoga viraga. Shamadamadi Shatka Sampat. Further, there exist 6 Shatka qualities or excellences which should perforce be there in the minds of the jijnasus or people who seek this knowledge of the ultimate reality of Brahman or Atman. They are 1. Shama or control over one's mind, Dhamma, second one, or control over one's senses, Indriya Nigraha, Mano Nigraha, Indriya Nigraha, Shama, Dhamma. Third, Uparati or introvertedness, Antardrishti. Fourth, Titiksha or forbearance in the face of the pairs of opposites like happiness and misery, heat and cold, etc. Titiksha means sahani, patience, or tolerance to all the dualities like happiness, misery, heat, cold, etc. Fifth one, Shraddha or one pointed dedication. Sixth one, Samadhana or equipoise of the mind. Note that these 6 excellent qualities are called Sampat or his wealth. Shamadamadi Shat Sampatti. Evidently, the seeker whose mind is endowed with these 6 excellences or virtues will be mature with the necessary samskaras or refinement of mind or heart, enabling him to carry out the subtle intuitive deliberation demanded of him by this spiritual science. Next, Mumukshutva, that's the fourth one. So, Nityanitya Vivekaha, Ihamutra Phalabhoga Viragaha, Shamadamadi Shat Sampad, Mumukshutva. In addition to these above 3 qualifications, this basic proclivity of the mind is necessary. The persistent, persevering quest in the manner, the present state in which we are, is surely not the one endowed with the eternal absolute bliss. Such a blissful state, which is superior to anything else in this whole universe, is plausible to be attained by man. I have heard about this assurance being given and its veracity being vouched for by the scriptures and sages, is itself mumukshutva. The persistent, persevering quest in this manner is itself is mumukshutva. In fact, only those whose minds have imbibed or have been imbued with this mumukshutva will invariably deliberate upon questions of the type, which is such a magnificent state of bliss. What should I do to attain it? When such mumukshutva listen to the mumukshus. So, when such mumukshus or those who want this moksha listen to the scriptural instruction of the type, the absolute ultimate reality is itself the fountainhead of that bliss. In fact, that is my Atman or innermost essence as the self alone. They go into rapture, ecstasy, without the least conceit or cunning. These people are engrossed in the intuitive deliberation on the transcendental reality of Brahman, Atman. They assiduously endeavored to acquire all the necessary qualities like viveka and viraga, etc., for such deliberation. In any case, before one undertakes this intuitive deliberation on the ultimate reality of Atman, he should be perforce endowed with these 4 excellences or virtues. Only such seekers will meet with success and their deliberations reach their fruition. Sri Shankara has not mentioned this sadhana chatushtaya in these verses, for these are not sadhana pradhana or practical in their import and perspective. They are, on the other hand, siddhanta pradhana or scientific and rational in their approach and treatment of the subject matter. Sadhana panchaka is there, a different one by Shankara only. This is Adwaita Pancharatnam. So, this is mainly knowledge based here, Siddhanta Pradhana, or scientific and rational in their approach and treatment of the subject matter. The first component of sadhana chatushtaya, which the practitioners or seekers of beatitude or moksha have to acquire, namely nitya, anitya, viveka, or deliberation on the prime questions of which is eternal and which is non eternal, has been exhaustively and exclusively taken up for deliberation here. Atma Anatma Viveka. The reason, so let us see, I think this thing in the next, so introductory part we have finished. In the next session, let us continue this book. Thank you. Hare Rama.